Opening day is right around the corner for the New York Mets. Starts on March 27th as they will open their season in Houston against the Astros. So it's a great time to preview the Mets season, and we're going to do that with the great Mets beat reporter for the New York Post. My guy Mike Puma joins me now. Mike, how you doing?
Pretty good,
I'm glad you were
Dexter.
well. I know it's been a long road down to spring training, and we're almost here. We're almost at the real games, the start of 162. Mike, I want to ask you as we approach opening day, what's the overall vibe around the 2025 Mets compared to last year at this time?
I think there's a lot of expectation, and listen, there was expectation last year, but probably not to this degree with Juan Soto here, and that's brought another element to spring training and guys getting to know him a little bit. Uh, and then certainly the group coming back with Alonso and Lindor and Vientos. So I would term it was a fun spring, and Juan Soto accounted for a lot of that. Just kind of the mystery of who he is, and some guys, a lot of guys had kind of known him before, but now it's at a different level now that they're teammates
Yeah,
with
it
him.
changes everything. The Juan Soto effect changes everything and the expectations around the team this spring. I want to talk to you about two players in particular, Clay Holmes and Brett Beatty. We know Holmes transitioning from a reliever to a starter this season, and Brett Beatty was a heralded prospect for the Mets. He struggled, but now has an opportunity with the Mets to make the club and play some second base. What do you expect from both of these guys this season, and how integral will they be to the Mets season?
Well, Holmes is very important, and we see him right off the bat getting the opening day start in Houston. And who would have thought that at the end of last season when he was with the Yankees pitching out of the bullpen that he'd be the Mets opening day starter in 2025. But he just came in and really impressed team officials with his work ethic, his attitude. They laid out a plan for him, and he built up rather quickly. And he's going to be an important piece here. Now, there's going to be a mental and physical hurdle for him to deal with. On the physical side, of course, he's going to be pitching more innings than he's ever pitched before. The mental hurdle is just learning how to pitch deep into games, work through multiple times through the batting order. When you're a reliever, you have a bulldog mentality. Come in, throw heat, strike guys out. Well, that for a starting pitcher, that's not going to work. So, uh, but he's an important piece here, especially early with a couple of other guys down. Sean Manaea with the oblique, Frankie Montas with the lat strain. So Holmes, he's getting the opening day start, and they'll go from there with him. Then the other guy you mentioned was Brett Beatty, and he had a huge spring, and he looked pretty good at second base. Jeff McNeil now another guy with an oblique. He's going to be down for a while here, and not only did Beatty handle second base well, um, he put up big numbers offensively. Now, listen, it's
Right.
spring training, and you can't get too excited about spring training numbers because you're hitting against in a lot of cases guys that aren't going to be on major league rosters. But he had a comfort level about him, and it was certainly welcomed. And I think they're going to as talented as they are at the top of the lineup with the big names they have there, they're going to need guys further down in the order, especially with Francisco Alvarez out for a little while now, and it gets a little thin down at the bottom with Jeff McNeil out. So if Brett Beatty can help plug some of that
Yeah,
hole,
that
it'll
would
be a
absolutely be
boost.
a boost for the Metropolitans there if Brett Beatty can step up. Mets fans have been looking to see what he can do for quite some time. We talked about Holmes and the rotation. You talked about the injuries to Sean Manaea and Frankie Montas. How is this rotation taking shape as we start the season? And How confident are the Metropolitans in their starting five pitchers to start this season? And would you say there's an X factor in this group? Is it Clay Holmes? Is it Kodai Senga? Who's the X factor in this Mets pitching rotation?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say Kodai Senga is the X factor, just because he's a guy who basically didn't pitch last season. He made one regular season start, then came back in the postseason, rushed back, and didn't pitch particularly well. But you don't know what you're getting here. You have the guy who, as a rookie 2 years ago, pitched really well for the team, pitched just under 3 ERA, was second in the National League Rookie of the Year balloting, and then misses just about all of last year. So what are we getting? Are we getting 2023 Senga? Are we getting somebody who's not going to be so great? Are we getting something in between? How many innings are we going to? Senga's said his goal is to pitch 162 innings this year. That might be a little ambitious for a guy who missed all last year, but they're going to need him. And the rotation as a whole, it's not. You look at it coming out of camp here, it's not going to scare anybody. You have Clay Holmes. You have Tyler McGill now slotted into that number. He'll pitch the second game in Houston. And then you go down to Griffin Canning, who pitched well in spring, but again, we're not going to get too ramped up over Grapefruit League numbers. And then it's David Peterson, who had a very good season last year, and Senga. So it really kind of lacks that sizzle. If you had a big name atop the rotation, I think it would certainly be easier to digest. But there's some trepidation here, and then you hope you get Sean Manaea back by the end of April, and then Montas could be a longer term thing. You could be talking late May, June, and we'll see. Those it's a high grade lat strain, so it could be something even more severe than that. So you don't think about Frankie Montas certainly yet, but you do think about when you'll get Sean Manaea back and how he could potentially bring a spark to the rotation.
He would absolutely be a boost to that rotation for sure. We'll see how the Mets are once that rotation gets healthy. Now, we know that Juan Soto was the gem acquisition of the offseason for the New York Mets. When the Mets are healthy, Mike, do you like the pieces around Soto in this lineup and what the potential of this Mets lineup can be?
Well, certainly it could be the best lineup in baseball. You start at the top with Francisco Lindor, and then you move to Soto, Pete Alonso, and then you're going to fluctuate between Nimmo in the cleanup spot and Brandon Nimmo and Mark Vientos, and then you'll have the other one batting fifth, and then you talk about it. It gets a little bit dicier on the back end. You have the two DHs that are going to split time, Jesse Winker and Starling Marte, in kind of a platoon. And to start the season, you have Luis Torrens, who's not known at all really for his bat. That's but just based on the top of this batting order, it's pretty scary. I mean, you look at what they can do here. They're going to bash some teams this year. So the key is just keeping those top five guys or so healthy, and it might not matter much what the bottom of the order does.
Yeah, it might not. You mentioned the guy I was going to talk to next that won't be there to start this season. That's Francisco Alvarez. We know he'll start the season on the injured list as he is recovering from his hand injury. What do you think about him, though? Because he's an important piece, Mike, and his continued development with this team, both behind the plate and at the plate. How important is that for the success of the Mets offensively and defensively this season?
Yeah, and he's certainly disappointed. He missed a big chunk of time last year with the surgery after the torn thumb ligament. He was really gung-ho coming in this year, and he brings in energy, and the pitchers love him. But the thing that I think we wanted to see was if his bat was going to come around a little bit, and now we're going to have to wait. And who knows the extent of this injury? He had the hamate bone removed from his left hand, and uh, we'll see how it affects him offensively. He didn't have a good year at the plate last year, and we were expecting bigger things coming into camp this year. Now we have to wait a little bit into May, but he's going to be a big piece of this thing. They're lucky to have a guy like Luis Torrens, who's very good handling and pitching staff, and he's got one of the best throwing arms for a catcher in the game, and he'll keep runners honest. So, you just hope he holds it together, and then Alvarez comes back, and we get to
Yeah,
see
like
what
to see
he
what he
is.
is, like you said, especially at the plate offensively. Hopefully, he can have a bounce back year here for the Mets Republicans. Here, I want to talk to you about division. A couple more things before I let you go. You got the Mets, you got the Braves, you got the Phillies. Is this a 3-team race for this division? And how much pressure is there on the Mets to actually win the division? Something we haven't seen them do since 2015.
Yeah, I think it's 3-team race, and listen, the Nationals might be a little bit better this year. I think they got some pretty good young players, but you want to expect the Marlins to be a factor, and Braves, Mets, Phillies. It could go to any one of those three. My own picks. I picked the Braves to win the NL East with the Mets second. Is there pressure on them to win the division? Yes and no. I mean, you'd like to win the division and put yourself in a position where you can potentially get that first round bye and line up your rotation. But as we saw last year, you get in, you get hot, and it doesn't matter if you won the division or not. So uh, I think you go in with the mindset you want to win the division, and that's what you play for. And if you fall short, there's 3 wild card berths there. So and you would certainly expect the Mets to be one of those
Yeah,
wild
you
card
would.
teams.
You picked them to finish second, picked them to make one of those wild card spots. We'll see what the Mets can do. Leads me to my final question here, Mike. What's your gut feeling about what's the ceiling and floor for this team? I know you picked them to make the wild card spot and finish second in 2005, but do you think this team is built right now to play meaningful games come October, deep into October?
I think it is, and it's all going to hinge, I think, on what they get from the starting rotation. Can If the starting rotation can just be respectable, decent, um, your lineup. And I think the lineup certainly is one of the tops in baseball on paper, and I think the bullpen has a chance to be very good. So if your rotation doesn't kill you, I think you're in good shape now. And there's always a chance that David Stearns goes out and adds to it as the season progresses if there's a need. Um, but you want to see what it's capable of when guys get healthy. But I would put the ceiling. It's probably a team that, if everything broke in the right direction, could win 97, 98 games. And the other way, if that pitching really falls apart and Stearns can't find any pieces, you know, we saw the wheels come off uh,
Mm-hmm.
2 years ago when the expectations were so high coming off the 101 win season. So, you know, we know there's no guarantees, but this looks like a very good team that's going to be playing
All
postseason
right, that's what the
baseball.
Mets fans are hoping to see with the Amazons this season. Hoping to see them have a deep postseason run with all the excitement around the team with Juan Soto in Flushing. That is Mike Puma, New York Mets beat reporter for the New York Post. Mike's had a very busy spring. It's about to get busier. He will be on his way to H-Town for opening day with the Mets as they open up on Thursday against the Astros. Mike, appreciate the time taken to preview the Mets' upcoming season, and I will talk to you very soon.
All right, Dexter, let's play
Let's
ball.
play ball.